What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Not Only Will I Do It, but I will do it perfectly and better than anybody else that could have done it. As always, I'm your host, Zach Cronin, and today we're going to be talking about arguably the most important player for Team USA in these Olympics, and that's Devin Booker. You may be asking yourself, but Zach, what about LeBron? What about Steph Curry? What about Kevin Durant? I wholeheartedly agree with you. Obviously, I would not be saying this about Devin Booker if it not for the contributions of Durant and Steph, particularly in the gold medal game. LeBron all throughout these 6 games. This statement comes from acknowledging that when you're playing any high level competition, you're playing for a title, you're playing for the Euro Cup, you're playing for a gold medal, you are only as good as your best role player. And oftentimes, that role player becomes more important than the star power because if you go back and you look at that gold medal game, LeBron, Steph, they get canceled out by somebody like Gershon Yabusele. They get canceled out by somebody like Victor Wembanyama. It's the same that we see in the NBA. It's why a guy like Kevin Love was so important for Cleveland. It's why Chris Bosh was so important for Miami and why Iguodala was so important for Golden State. If Devin Booker were not a member of Team USA, I'm sure they still would have won gold, but his performance made it I don't want to say a lot easier, but it did make things run more smoothly for them. Before we continue, let's just take a peek. Let's take a little gander here at what Booker posted in these Olympics. He averaged 11.7 points per game, which I believe was fifth on the team. It was fifth on the team. He shot 56.5% from three. He had a total plus minus of plus 78, and he had an assist to turnover ratio of 20-3, which is almost 7-1. This is the most that you could ask from any role player. On top of that, he played some of the best defense that we had ever seen in his career. I know that Booker has come a long way defensively, but he doesn't get to showcase it that frequently in the NBA because of the load that he has to bear on offense. So putting him in this slim down role really emphasized all of the great off ball abilities that he has. As we all know, he was not maybe he wasn't propositioned, but Kyle Kuzma basically tweeted and was like, Team USA needs someone who can go to Paris and be Jay Crowder, Trevor Ariza, Contavious Caldwell Pope, a guy who is willingly able and capable of pretty much being the most electrifying 3-and-D guy who's going to sit in the corner, who's going to hustle on defense, who's going to potentially guard the best wing on the opposite team, and then also just play smart basketball, delivering the right extra pass, not forcing the ball into any holes that may or may not be there because again, you have electrifying playmakers all throughout this team. LeBron, Steph, Anthony Edwards, you have people who are going to command the basketball and who are going to get the basketball when the time comes. I've talked about this seemingly ad nauseum when it comes to the construction of Team USA because Team USA is constructed much like you would construct a contending team in the NBA. It's just all of the talent is concentrated. You have your big two or your big three in this case, and then everyone is an ancillary or a complementary piece who have all been asked to fill a role similar to that of what they do in the NBA. When you look at Joel Embiid, I did a video on him. He operated in a similar role as to what he does with the Sixers. And to his credit, he came alive over the final games of these Olympics. When you look at Bam, when you look at AD, when you look at Anthony Edwards, Drew Holiday, Derek White, they are all operating in a similar environment as they would with their NBA teams. Devin Booker does not. His role, his ask, what he was tasked to do in Paris is the opposite of what he does with Phoenix. This dude, All NBA third team, four-time All Star in the last 5 years, if I remember correctly, is coming off a season where he just averaged 27 points and 7 assists, and he goes to being Contavious Caldwell Pope, and he does it so smoothly. Now I understand what he was asked to do, as I already mentioned, it wasn't out of the realm of possibility with him. We've seen Devin Booker play off the ball. In fact, playing off of the ball is arguably his better skill set than being the on ball shot creator, pseudo point guard type that Phoenix had him in last year. I think it was a refreshing change of pace for him, and I think that he felt more comfortable being in this role. And of course, anyone, any high level basketball player would be comfortable if instead of taking catch and shoot threes off of Bradley Beal, no disrespect to Bradley Beal, but it's different when LeBron is giving you the ball, or it's different when Steph is giving you the ball. It's much easier to settle into a rhythm when you have these high level playmakers facilitating for you. It really was a perfect pairing. And of course, Devin Booker proved that he deserves to be on the Olympic team. This guy's one of the 15 best players in the NBA. And he fits perfectly. And there is also the possibility for him to have played a role similar to Anthony Edwards if the time called for it. Edwards was more of that come off the bench, shot creator type play alongside KD. Booker would have been able to do that if, for whatever reason, it was, let's say, Jaylen Brown on this team instead of Anthony Edwards, someone who you could rely on to consistently create shots from wherever. And that's not saying that Jaylen Brown can't do that, but it's me saying that Devin Booker does that at a better level than Jaylen Brown does. I think that this run was very impressive for Devin Booker. I think that he deserves to be showered with praise, and I ultimately hope that he receives the appropriate credit because, again, what he was asked to do here is atypical of what has been asked for him the last couple of seasons with Phoenix, namely this past one and the one before it. And it worked out better than anyone could have anticipated. Outside of a couple coaching blunders that Steve Kerr had, I'm thinking about oh, this fucking guy. I'm thinking about him running that all defensive lineup at the end of the third quarter against Serbia when Team USA was down by I think like 11 or 12, save for the rotational mishaps, save for giving guys minutes at the wrong time. If it not for them, I think if Eric Spoelstra were the head coach of this team, they would have been they would have looked way more streamlined. They would have looked way more efficient. And it's scary to think about that because of how efficiently this team played. With all of that said, though, I don't want to make it seem like I'm downplaying the other countries because there was a reason why Team USA was put in these predicaments, and it's because the rest of the world is finally catching up to the United States. France played a hell of a game in the gold medal match. Serbia played they played some of the most inspired basketball I think I've ever seen, even though when you watch that game, clearly they're getting some lucky bounces. But also, teams are going to get lucky bounces. It's part of the game. And beyond that, Team USA's defensive intensity wasn't that great. So when you're giving up wide open threes off of all of this motion, it only compounds when someone like Bogdanovich hits a step back that bounces off the rim two or three times. So I'm again not trying to downplay Serbia. Their basketball was remarkable and even more remarkable considering the short memory that they have because they had been blown the fuck out by the United States in both of their previous meetings. And then they come in, they run their offense perfectly. They make all of the shots that they should have made. And then on top of that, were rewarded by the basketball gods for playing just a remarkable brand of basketball. I love the style that they play with in Serbia. Every so often, I'll get a clip on my For You page of someone going to Serbia and just getting into a random pickup game, and everyone plays the same style. Like Nikola Jokic has the same style as like a bartender in Serbia. It really is beautiful basketball, and I particularly really enjoyed these Olympics from the basketball point of view. I don't know if there was a little bit of finality, if that's even a word, knowing that Steph will likely not play in the 2028 Olympics. I highly doubt LeBron's going to play. I don't think Kevin Durant is going to play. It really is like the end of the line for the three basketball players that I grew up watching, the three icons who shaped the game of basketball and who were present all throughout while I was falling in love with this game. Now, obviously, there still is the NBA season, and I'm grateful that I get to still watch these guys, but there really is something different about the Olympics, especially now that every game isn't going to be a blowout. There is a high level of competition that has developed over the last couple of decades. It puts the Olympics in a different regard for me. I really do feel joy and I feel patriotic watching the Olympics, which is shocking for anyone who knows me, considering how critical I am of the institution that is the United States and how the government operates. This isn't the forum for that. This isn't a forum to air my my political beliefs or whatever. But I really enjoy watching the concentration of talent for all of these teams, and I'm particularly grateful that Yugoslavia does not exist because that would be a dominant basketball force. That would be a level of dominance like similar to the United States. But even with all of that said, and as much as upset as I may be that like this one era of USA basketball is coming to an end, the future is bright. I look at how Anthony Edwards played in these Olympics. Incredible. This guy's 22. 22 years old, going to be 23. And was not afraid to assert himself as like the number one when it was necessary. Like sharing the court with Kevin Durant, with LeBron James, it doesn't matter. Like this guy is a dog, and I cannot wait to see him suit up in 2028. I think Bam is perfect for FIBA basketball. I think Tyrese is going to play his ass off in 2028. This was just not, there was just nowhere for him to get, there was just nowhere for him to get minutes. Like, who's he going to take minutes from? It's the same with Jason Tatum. Like, you're going to go with who's giving you the best production. You're not taking minutes away from Devin Booker and Kevin Durant for Jason Tatum, much like you're not taking minutes away from LeBron, pardon me. You're not taking minutes away from Steph and Drew for Tyrese Halliburton. You're going to run with the lineup that is presented to you. With that said, with Jason Tatum mentioned, actually, I do want to touch on him a little bit because I understand why he did not see a lot of time in these Olympics. And I believe that anyone saying he deserved minutes based off of what he did in the regular season did not watch a single minute of these games in Paris. Because as I just mentioned, you're not giving Tatum minutes over Kevin Durant. You're not giving him minutes over LeBron James. You're not giving him minutes over Devin Booker. If Tatum were playing better than these guys in those games, he would have surely gotten minutes. But it's a 6-game schedule. It's a 40-minute long game. There is no time to be fucking around with all of these lineups that may or may not work. I mean, we saw Joel Embiid. This guy's a perennial MVP candidate. His minutes were sporadic until he proved that he could run with the starting unit and there not be any hiccups. And one of the reasons that he saw more time as the Olympics drew on was because he was really the only offensive option that Team USA had at center, and I mean that in terms of shot creation. He was someone who you can throw the ball into on the low block, who you can give the ball to 15, 16 feet from the basket and let him go to work. I do, however, believe looking forward to 2028, Jason Tatum, should he decide to join with Team USA, and I think that they should extend something to him because regardless, he is a phenomenal basketball player, and he deserves to be considered for the Olympics. It will be a different roster. He will be one of the top dogs with that team. I'm thinking of AE. I'm thinking of Jason Tatum. I would expect to see Chet Holmgren get some consideration going forward, but there's a lot of time left. Devin Booker's probably going to be a member of that team as well. He'll only be 31 by the time these next Olympics roll around. He'll be 30. Yeah, he'll be about 31 going on 32. But if I could just close this off getting back to Devin Booker, what spectacular basketball from him. If you're a young basketball player watching these Olympics or you watch these Olympics, study Devin Booker because that is how you play winning basketball. It really epitomizes leaving your ego at the door and doing whatever you need to do to help your team win. It really is beautiful basketball, and it's something that they preach a lot in FIBA is sacrificing, which, of course, you live in the States is different. Like, this guy's going to come in and this Devin Booker's going to come in 2025, probably average close to 30, maybe land on the All NBA second team. But it's that versatility and the willingness to be versatile that made those tough stretches a little bit more manageable for Team USA. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this video out. Thank you guys so very much for coming to hang out with me today. As always, everything that I'm associated with is down in the description box below. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Drop a comment as well. It really helps out with the algorithm. If you do any of those three things, you will become my new favorite person. And with that, I will see y'all in the next one.